Okay, so this is Zoe's Roadmap to Success video, and I want to refer the guardian to the video right above this to go through petting with a purpose, to go through how to do that and then how that will influence her behavior and help her relax. I do want to encourage you to be mindful of how you're using petting with a purpose, and if you catch yourself petting her at the wrong time, just remind yourself, okay, this is the time when I'm not supposed to do it, so that way kind of moving forward, you're doing the right thing. Now, if you do pet her, just remember, try to stop and maybe even disengage and take a step backwards, or engage her in something else. Maybe you get up and you toss the ball for her. She's not too motivated by that, but you could always go over and grab like a treat, ask her to sit, ask her to do something, so that way you can reward her for doing something that you do want her to do and kind of break out of that habit. The next thing I want to talk about is making sure that we're using structured feeding. She doesn't always tend to be as motivated by treats. These are new, so she's liking them, but they have a high like pungent odor, and dogs do like things by odor first. So I want to remind you to make sure that you're getting nice smelly treats, like the Tricky Trainer ones that we have, and to help her kind of be more motivated for food. So you're going to use the structured eating by feeding her twice a day, and that will help you gain a little more control over the most important resource, so she's more likely to listen to you. If she has control over the most important resource, remember that listening to you for any other time period becomes optional. So you want to make sure that you're in control of that most important resource. This should also help you bring her inside when she's outside and would prefer to be outside as opposed to coming in when she's called. So this should help her start to listen to you better. Also, you can use these treats as long as they're still high value to her and she likes them as a reward for every time she comes in. The fastest way to get a dog to stop listening is to stop rewarding them with something that motivates them. So if she really likes the treats and she only gets this specific kind of treat when she comes indoors, it might help her reliably come indoors and come in for you. So I want to remind you that as long as she's motivated by these treats, to give her one every time you call her in, to help reinforce her to listening to you and coming in reliably. So again, we want to use structured feeding, petting with a purpose, and then using that kind of treat reward, if that, as long as she's motivated by that, to reinforce her coming inside. What were the other things that we had for you? She's a good girl. And then, one other thing is we did discuss, and this is something just kind of important for, because she is getting a little bit older, so I had a hunch that there's a possibility that as she's been going to daycare for about 3 times a week for, in half days for most of her life, that now she's around 8 years old and she might be having kind of a reaction to going so often. So I encourage the guardian to decrease how often she's going, to maybe once a week to once every other week, and see if that brings back her excitement for that. So I want to remind you that play around with how often she's going to see if that is something that will influence her and make her start to like it more. Just like we might in our early 20s think that staying home on a Friday night is not a good idea and is not fun. As we get a little bit older, we start to cherish that time and think, oh, staying home on a Friday night sounds relaxing and wonderful. She might be going through a similar experience where she used to love doggy daycare, but as she gets older, maybe that's not as much fun for her. So I just want to encourage you to play around with that. Make sure she's still getting exercise, so going for walks, things like that, if it does seem like you need to phase out some of the doggy daycare. All right, I want to remind you that everything you do trains your dog, only sometimes you mean it.